Hi, welcome to American Reversion, where we talk about what's wrong with our country, how to get it back to the way it ought to be. I'm Steve Smith, and we're going to talk about some of the interesting things today, some important, some just kind of interesting, could be important to some people, but we'll get to that in a second. I've decided that since we don't have ads on up here for YouTube, because we're a fairly new channel, I'm going to make my own ad here and say that this episode is brought to you by my book, The Reversion. The Reversion is where this channel gets its name from. It's a book about the rebuilding of America after a collapse and the rebuilding the way that I think it ought to be and the way that most of you think it ought to be as well. If you'd like to support the channel, that's one good way to do it. I'll put the link down here, how to go about that. Or you can go over and join on our Patreon channel. It's only $1 a month, or you can give. I've noticed that some people are giving more. I really appreciate that. That's very nice. Thank you very much. There's no requirement for it, but give what you like if you think that this channel is worth supporting and getting more of the information out there. My goal is to have a daily episode. We'll see how that goes. I have, for those of you who know me from other channels and from other things, you know that I have quite a few irons in the fire, quite a few things that I do. And so I may occasionally miss a day. And if I do, I apologize for that. It will be my goal to get something on every day, however. And I hope, if you see me looking down here, by the way, I'm checking my computer screen, just making sure that I catch the things that I want to touch on today. What was I saying? Well, if it was important, I'll probably think about it and we'll get back to it, right? So anyway, oh yeah, I know what I was going to say. Please like and subscribe to this. Spread this around. That's the way the word gets around. If you want to do your part in getting this country back to the way it ought to be, that's one way you can do it. At the end of every program here, I always say that America needs a reversion and it needs you to be a part of it. That's a way you can do it by spreading this around to your people, and give it a thumbs up and subscribe and make a comment if you'd like. Comments are always welcome and they're always helpful, and I think that a lot of people learn from them. Okay, today we actually have our feature that I'm going to talk about. I'll save that for the end, but there's a couple of just extremely important things to begin with. Some of you may not have heard that Heidi Fleiss, the Hollywood Madam. Isn't that what she was called? Yeah, the Hollywood Madam. Well, she's decided somebody shot one of her parrots, apparently, out wherever she lives out in Nevada. And she has decided to get out of Nevada and move to Missouri. One more reason that, well, it's interesting that she chose Missouri, the Show Me state, right? Heidi Fleiss, Show Me. I guess, if you need one more thing to do when you're in Branson, after you go to Dolly's Stampede and Silver Dollar City, well, Heidi's coming to Missouri. I'm just kidding. It doesn't say that she's moving to Branson. It doesn't say where. Just somewhere in Missouri where she's going to have some kind of, what is it? Exotic bird refuge or something like that. I don't know. I guess she's an animal. I'm an animal person now. I mean, I always have been, but whatever she's doing, good for her. The next thing is, guess what? Remember that trans swimmer that everybody was making a big deal out of? Well, is it he's a guy changing into a girl, right? Is that? I'm not really up on this stuff, like I should be if I was woke, But he's a guy changing into a girl. Well, he just got beat, and everybody was all upset because he was beating all the girls, right? And everybody assumed, well, yeah, I mean, a guy's gonna, they usually have better times and better performance in athletic events. Doesn't make them better people. For all of my female viewers out there, if you've read my books, you know how I feel about women. Very pro women. Pro strong women, not pro weak women, nor am I pro weak men. I like strong people of whatever they are. But anyway, so this guy was just swimming and beating all the girls. And of course, that was causing a big uproar. Well, guess what? He got beat. You know who he got beat by? Another trans, but this one was a girl changing into a boy. Do you believe that? Let's see a word. I don't know if it says there. I'm not going to get down into the nitty gritty and see where this person goes to school. I guess his the name is Itzhak Hennig, a woman transitioning to become a man. I'm not even going to go and find out where Itzhak goes to school. It doesn't matter. The whole entertainment of the situation is that a trans man to woman got beat by a trans woman to man. I don't know what that says. You know, it probably says something. Who knows? Okay, so now we have the two major important stories out of the way. Heidi Fleiss coming to Missouri, and one trans beats another in swimming. Now we go into New York. You know, again shows its leadership in the new America. And it says here, New York City Democrats grant voting rights to nearly 1 million non-citizens. Okay, the measure enables non-citizens who have been lawful permanent residents of the city for at least 30 days, as well as those authorized to work in the U.S., including so-called dreamers, to help elect the city's mayor, city council members, borough presidents, comptroller, and public advocate. Well, why shouldn't they be able to, right? I mean, what a great idea. What could possibly go wrong? Anybody who has invested 30 days, you know, into our country and a city like New York City, you know, they stayed there apparently for 30 days without getting caught, you know, committing a crime. You know, they say who have been lawful permanent residents. So I guess, you know, they haven't gotten caught doing anything, and they were here. You know, they came for whatever reason. You know, we know why people come, because they're not doing so well back where they came from, right? So they come over to our country, and then, you know, very often they decide that, well, they want to change things because where they came here, where they risked their life or whatever, you know, they want to change what America is, because apparently it wasn't good enough for them to live in. It was good enough for them to come to, but not good enough for them to live in. So they'll get that changed, just like we see a lot of areas in our country being changed. And, you know, what could possibly go wrong with that? Because the Border Patrol reports 1,066% increase in fentanyl seized last year in South Texas. Well, the thing about that is that we know, those of us who were in the business, I was in the drug business. No, I didn't sell drugs. I was in drug enforcement for a long time. And we know that only a very small percentage of smuggled drugs, smuggled guns, smuggled people, smuggled anything, only a small percentage ever gets discovered and seized. And that's because, you know, the people who are running this stuff, they have so much coming in. They always throw out a sacrificial load, whether it's a load of dope, a load of people, a load of guns, whatever, you know, so that the authorities, the law enforcement, they can go down and make a bust look good on TV, say, look what we did, and if we only had more money, we could do more. So if we've seen that the Border Patrol reports over 1,000% increase in fentanyl seized at the border, I'll guarantee you there is a lot more than that coming over the border, and this will give all of these new voters in New York City the chance to, you know, to affect how all this fentanyl is used in New York, and how it's directed. Okay, now let's get to the serious thing here, shall we? And it comes from Stream. I'm going to read an article from Stream, and then I'm going to leave a link down below where you can see the article yourself, and go to their, you know, if you want to follow their website so that you can. Stream is called The Stream, It says they're equipping Christians to think clearly about the political, economic, and moral issues of our day. Well, I'll tell you what, if Christians need anything, it's a little bit of help right now. Now, not for the legitimate Christians, but so-called those who identify as Christians. We know all about, I identify as, right? I could identify as a purple pumpkin right now. And I guess you'll have to decide whether you believe that or not. But so those who identify as Christians, well, they're part of the problem. I've done I think I've done a sermon on that over on the Stonemont Church website or on the channel. I don't recall if it's up on the channel or not, but I have done a message on that. Probably do another one because I don't know if there's anything more important than that. Our country was founded on Judeo-Christian concepts and foundations and morals. It was established as a Christian country. I don't care what people want to argue about that. They don't know what they're talking about. And sometime I guess I have to make another video about that. But this is a website, and I'm going to read the story here. And it says, equipping Christians to think clearly about political, economic, and moral issues of our day. Now, if you're not a Christian, don't worry. We're happy to have you here. This is not a situation that says, only Christians. You can be Jewish, you can be Zoroastrian, you can be whatever you want. If you're a good person and you believe in the principles that we do, we're happy to have you. And if you would like to understand what Christianity is about, then I highly suggest that you look into it. However, that's not what this is about. Okay, let me start with this article. It's kind of what I have said in the past. It says, imagine an America where far-right, white militia groups could attack their political enemies with impunity, where local prosecutors whose campaigns were funded by Vladimir Putin would simply dismiss the charges when they committed serious crimes, but savagely prosecute members of the public who tried to defend themselves against right-wing thugs. Imagine further that after winning a murky election, where his own election workers were credibly accused of massive voter fraud, President Trump's administration kept dozens of progressive election protesters in solitary confinement. This more than a year after a riot where they were attacked by police. And the feds wouldn't turn over key evidence, kept pushing trial dates back into the indefinite future, and denied those liberal protesters proper food and medical care. Meanwhile, a savagely partisan GOP Congress tried to delegitimize and prosecute ordinary political activity by Democrats. Our country, the subheading says, is fascist now. If you called such tactics fascist, you wouldn't be overstating things. Few of us on the right would have a stomach for such abuse of power. You see, we really do believe in liberal democracy, the rule of law, and the dignity of the person as the image and likeness of God. And in the short run, those things about us seem to be weaknesses. They stop us from even trying to aggressively wield power when and where we have it. Even worse, we can mistake these cherished, peculiar beliefs of ours for a civic creed that all our fellow citizens likewise believe. We project our own good intentions and moral integrity onto our enemies. We imagine that they sincerely share these basic values with us, and they only disagree about their proper application. My friends, none of this is true, and it's time for us to stop pretending otherwise. Yes, it helps us sleep at night. It might make us socializing easier, acting as if progressive were fellow citizens with whom we share basic beliefs and common interests. It might lower our blood pressure to convince ourselves that our elites have good intentions, but are simply misguided or misinformed. In the same way, the heresy of universal salvation spreads a blanket of tranquility over the troubled Christian heart. A pity that it's a lie from the pit of hell. So is the fairy tale we tell ourselves about leftists. As you read this, more than 100 Americans who peacefully protested the theft of the 2020 election rot as political prisoners in Gitmo on the Potomac. Those who led the January 6th lawbreaking and violence mostly weren't even charged, which virtually clinches the case that they were federal informants. They gimmed up violence and chaos, entrapped their fellow citizens, and quashed Republican challenges to dodgy electoral votes. Every bit of that served the incoming regime's power grab. But the Bidenist occupational government is using the crimes its informants incited to persecute the opposition in classic police state style. Let me go down here. Want to know who is not going to prison or even to trial? Leftist rioters who attempted a mass casualty terrorist attack in Los Angeles. Read this Fox News LA, this Fox News report on a Democrat prosecutor who on his first day in office dismisses a strong case against leftist terrorists who tried to murder dozens, perhaps even hundreds of American citizens on a commuter train. And when I put you can go to the link that I'll put up this on below, and you'll be able to read, go to that link if you'd like. Then he retaliates professionally against an honest subordinate who tried to continue the case. Remember Kamala Harris bailing out violent rioters and telling Stephen Colbert that the riots should continue? Remember Michelle Obama threatening America during the Democrat National Convention? As blue cities burned, she said that the chaos would only get worse if Biden lost the election, so people should vote for Biden like our lives depend on it. These are the kind of people that lead the American left. They are not friends we haven't met yet, or fellow citizens with different views. They are domestic enemies, trying to wreck our country, persecute their opponents, and strip us of our rights. Keep that in mind the next time some spineless rhino calls for bipartisanship, or some hack from the Planned Parenthood wing, the Bush wing, of the GOP scolds you for undermining institutions and norms by indulging in populism. There's a civil war going on, but only one side is fighting. That was by John Zmirak, senior editor at The Stream, and co-author of a bunch of books. I will put that. I'll put that link down here so that if you'd like to see it, you can go to that. You know, that's exactly right what he said, and it's what I've said before too. They are fighting, and we are not. And too often, it's those on our side. I've said before that when you are against someone, you can't blame them for wanting and trying to beat you. They want to beat you, and that's what the other side does with us. Where our problem lies is that so many who claim to be on our side are not, in that they are not fighting the fight. It's important that everyone who wants to return this country to the way that it should be take an active part in it. You know, as far as I had said about John McCain years ago, and it applies to so many. It applies to the Bushes. It applies to, what's that idiot's name from Utah? Or was he Massachusetts or Michigan? I don't know. He bounced around so many places. Romney. I can't even keep track of where he's actually from. But somebody just yelled in from the other room, told me it was Romney. I would say because they would use Reagan as an example, as when he would reach across the aisle to the other side. Well, when Reagan reached across the aisle, it was after he had already beaten them, and he was welcoming them to a deal. He made a deal. I've always said that when our side reaches across the aisle, it's not to reach a bipartisan agreement that would help the American people or our country at large, but it's to steady themselves as they step down into the trough already populated by the left. And that's what we're dealing with now. That's what we're up against, is not just the other side, but those on our own who simply won't stand up to fight. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, is the importance of standing up to fight in whatever way is your way. Whether it's talking to people, whether it's on a YouTube channel, whether it's writing for a magazine, whether it's running for office yourself, whether it's contributing to someone running for office, or simply being involved in your local political landscape, your school boards, whatever. It's important that everyone fight. Um, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to ask you again, if you like the content here, please make sure that you subscribe, give it a thumbs up, give it a comment, spread it around to your friends. If you would like to support the channel, we appreciate that. I'll put the link to the Patreon channel. You can become a patron for whatever amount you want. It's just, I only have one level. It's $1. Pledge what you want. We appreciate it. But that's also a way that you can, kind of be a part of the fight back. And remember that America needs a reversion. It needs you to be a part of it. We need to rebuild this country from essentially what has collapsed. I named it after my book, The Reversion. If you'd like to buy it or any of the rest of the series, the links will be down here. You all have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow talking about some more idiocies and who knows? Maybe there will be something good. We'll see. You all have a good day. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.